In motion is Sewell. Goff to throw. Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it! Boy, Sewell with a first down! Oh, yes! The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful!
Welcome to the 20 the Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft here in Phoenix at the Super Bowl Radio Row. And I'm with a guy who really needs no introduction. And I have to say, I had Michael Brockers on earlier. He had this giant cat shirt on. But I'm saying,
typical Brockers.
This is what you've got going on here is rivaling him for best dressed here at Radio Row.
I just try
you got the swag. You got everything going on.
Comfortable. That's all. And then I put on the things that I got for as his gift.
Yeah.
So this is a gift. This is a gift. Everything that's shiny is a gift.
I like
just
it.
Know that.
Obviously, I'm talking to Jamaal Williams, who really needs no introduction. All he is holds the Lions record for most touchdowns in a single season. Have you gotten used to that yet? People saying that to you?
Nah,
hearing it?
I mean, sort of, kind of, but it's like I wish I could put me and then put all my linemen friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Linemen and the tight ends and the receivers blocking, so they could be part of this too. It's not just me. So I just try to make sure I give credit to them for as much as they did this season to help me get it. And it's not just one person who got it. So I just want to give credit to my teammates for helping me get it. I appreciate y'all, and this record is not just me, it's y'all too.
Well, you're here in Phoenix, and you got to be living your best life, Jamaal. This seems like this setting, Radio Row. I know you were with Jerome, and you're making all the stops. It seems like it fits you and your personality, right? Do you enjoy yourself, or do you not like this?
Oh, no, this is work. This
is work.
Right now, this is cutting into my Hogwarts time because I'm going crazy right now. I'm only level 13, but I'm going crazy. So, yeah, I'd rather go play a video game than...
You and Neil Larson talk in the offseason about how far you guys have gone?
Neil?
Yeah.
Right now, Neil, we're not friends right now. Because he came in, I went up to his office, and we played Smash Brothers. And I knew he was going to be good when I seen his freaking little keyboard. He has a keyboard with
and we're talking about Neil Larson,
controllers.
Really good producers.
With controller things on the end of it. And it's a big, excuse my language.
Yo,
it's a
you're good.
Big keyboard. And he got, controllers on there. And then he over here going crazy with Bowser Jr. It wasn't Bowser Jr. It was, you can change the characters and it turns into one of the little minions. But that's what he did. And I like Bowser. That's me personally. But he was just, I know he was good, but I didn't think he was that good. So he good, but it makes me mad. Now he talking, excuse my language.
No, you're good.
Talking So he been talking since he beat me. And now I need to beat him.
Oh, you got to?
Yeah, but right now.
So this is a little duel that's now
it's
the
a rival.
Lions Allen Park offense.
No.
Started.
It's a rival.
It's a rivalry now?
Yeah, I just got to go practice. So, Neil, watch your back. Watch your back, because I'm coming at you with razor blades and lemon juice.
That's awesome. So how's the offseason been? I know it's been about a month. So how's the body feeling? You rehabbing? What's your process? Do you take a little time off, or do you kind of get back into working out? I guess what's your drill?
This is my cheat month, my relaxed month.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. I can eat whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. Chill. But mostly I just want to sleep, play video games, sleep, go use the restroom, sleep. if I can. But I'm still now I'm getting real active in the off season of just getting business and doing stuff. So try to, do that, do what I need to do first, do what I need to do before I want to do. So
speaking of business, there is a business side of football, and you are coming off a 1,000-yard season. Obviously, the 17 touchdowns, your best season as a professional, yards, carries. And you talked, I know we talked during the season, you love the situation here in Detroit, you love the coaching staff, you love the teammates, you just love what Dan and Brad are building here. You are an unrestricted free agent. I guess what are your thoughts heading into free agency and the business side of football?
And honestly, just the business side, I really just want to stay with Detroit if I can, and really just stay here and leave my mark here, and I really want to finish here, you know what I mean, if I could. So it's more of just going with it. I understand it's a business, and, team got to do what's best for them, and then I got to do what's best for me too. But I just really want us to come to a mutual agreement, just get it done, so then we can get back to just playing football again.
Yeah.
So
what is it about this team, Jamaal, that makes you want to stay and be a part of this and finish your career here?
I think it's just the energy. I like the energy. I like the look at B.S. Brockers right there. Let me say, Brocker! You can't hear me.
He can't hear you, but you see the shirt.
Yeah.
I told you, he's got every single big cat on that shirt.
Let me see, Brocker! Brock! Hey! What's up, Fred? What you doing? I'm doing an interview right now. I just want to say hi. Let me see that cat. Let me see that cat shirt.
Oh, yeah, I told you.
That's my dog.
But that shirt, he was on earlier. He's great.
Yeah, that's my dog too. I love Rock. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Just my teammates, they just all got their own personality.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everybody's personality is different, but they all mold together for us to be a good team. And I feel like that's what you need is honesty.
Yeah.
Like, we're not always happy-dappy. You know, teammates argue, teammates fight. But at the same time,
It's like family.
Yeah, we argue and we fight to know that we want to be great and want to be better. So
what is it about Dan, too? And I know Calvin Shepard's talked about this, too, with Dan telling him, you're not shaving your dreads. I mean, you are who you are. But it sounds like Dan and Brad and this organization really lets people be who they are. And I know you've talked about this, too. And there's got to be a comfort level as a player, too, to know that you can just come here. Look, you're going to work.
Yeah.
And they're going to make sure you guys work, but you can be yourself doing it. And there's got to be something very appealing to that as well, right, Jamaal?
It's great to have coaches that let you be yourself, yet at the same time, they want you to succeed. And they don't care about you not doing it a certain way, that how they do it or how they want you to act, and then they punish you for that and not let you play, which is crazy.
Right.
I feel like you should let your players be who they are. At the same time, keep the structure, keep the discipline, keep all that and limit, but yet don't let them be themselves while playing football. And I feel like that's how we get more out of each other, is just go out there, have fun, and have fun with each other. Like, it makes you want to make plays and then look at your teammates and let's do something. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes playing football even better, is when you have other people to play for instead of just yourself.
First thoughts when you found out Ben Johnson was going to be back as the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions?
Man, thank goodness. God, what do because Deuce is gone, so it's like, and he has a real reason why he's leaving. So it's nothing against Deuce leaving. I'm just sad that he's gone, because Deuce is somebody that's really close to me. So, it hurts a lot, but at the same time, I understand that it's a business. You do what you need to do for what you got going on in your life, and I totally respect it. But it's just, it's just sad. But I'm grateful that Ben is still there, and it's just there. It's just me. I don't like change. I just don't.
Well, one of the things you're not going to have to worry about in terms of change is all 5 of those offensive linemen, Jamaal, under contract. How big is that? This offense for this running back room.
That's what you need to start with. It always starts with the line, and if they got the mentality of just being dogs and working hard, that's what our line is all about, is just being dogs, running the ball, pass protection. But they want to get that ball running, you know what I mean? And they the ones that be emphasizing it the most. So let's run this ball, let's get it going. And that's what it is. And I just like having linemen that are dogs that got more same dog as me. And we looking at each other in the huddle, and we looking at 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, or let's get it. Let's go get it. 4-minute drive. Let's finish this run behind me. And they tell me, run behind me. Talk. That's what you want to hear. That's what because it gets both of us turned. It gets us both going. And that's what I like about my linemen, is they bring the juice for me, and I bring the juice for them. But it's always a give and take.
I was looking at some of your statistics, obviously coming off a terrific season, but 915 carries in your career. It seems to me, and the way that you ran this year and how good you looked from week 1 to week 18, you've got a lot left in the tank, don't you?
I got a lot. It's just, let me get these opportunities in. I'm just I'm one of those backs I gotta get going, and I just need the carries and just get more comfortable. And it's just, once I get going, and for me too, that's why I can't wait for this off season to bring back I don't want to just be struck down to just running the ball. I want to get back to running routes. I want to get back to doing options, because that's my last year at Green Bay. I was really out there, and I was really feeling comfortable with it and with my receiving it. And once I got to Detroit, I understood my role at the time, but it's still, I want to be more.
You want to see that role expanded.
Yeah.
That did lead into my next question, just to focus this offseason. And again, I'm with Jamaal Williams, running back for the Detroit Lions. What's the focus this offseason? Is that it? Expanding the totality of the game?
Just expanding, and at the same time, just make sure my body is durable and a little more versatile.
Yeah.
I feel like I was a little versatile this year, but that's just me learning, like, okay, I don't need to do so much to break a tackle or to break one.
Yeah.
All I really need is a stiff arm, just stiff arm a little baby bit, and then I'm gone, you know? And I did that a couple times now to understand, like, all right, I understand how I want to run the ball from now on and be more explosive and make more explosive plays and not just go down on first contacts or, you know, put my head down and going straight down. I want to keep my head up, make somebody miss, and go make a play. So, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, Jamaal, have a terrific rest of the week. I know with free agency going, you became a fan favorite. I know fans out there are going to be really happy to know that you want to be back here.
Oh, yeah.
You want to finish this thing out in Detroit. Have a good rest of the week. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate Detroit. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. I appreciate all the Detroit fans, no matter if you're in Detroit or not. I appreciate the love and the support, and I appreciate your loyalty. So go Lions.
There you have it. Welcome back to the Twentyman the Huddle podcast, and I am joined by, I think some fans will remember, Dominic Raiola, 14 years as a center for the Detroit Lions. 14 years. Do you still wrap your head around that? When you were finishing up in Nebraska and going to the NFL, did you ever think you'd be in the NFL for 14 years and have as long a career as you had?
No, I was fortunate. It still went by way too fast. You know, you always look back and what you could have done different and what you would have done different, and you know, I would have done a little bit different, but I don't regret a day I spent there in Detroit. And, you know, always thought I'd leave a legacy of leaving a place better than I found it. And, shoot, there was some ups, there were some downs, but I feel like it was better when I left, and they're in a good place now.
Yeah, they're in a pretty good place. I mean, how often do you get to watch them? How much do you enjoy now seeing guys like Penei Sewell?
Yeah.
Taylor Decker,
Yep.
Frank Ragnow, Pro Bowler, right? Jonah Jackson, Pro Bowler, and what they've built up front. And that really started, you know, not just a couple years after you left with Taylor, and they've really built that up, and it's become one of the strengths of this football team.
Well, and that's why you see some of the success that they've had. And they built a good room. They built a room of depth, you know, continuity. So I think with that, you get to build the rest of the team around it, you know, and it is fun to see. It's fun to root for them again. You know, there were some years there where it was hard to root for them just because the way a lot of stuff went down. But I love Danny. Love Dan Campbell. People, you know, I played with Dan, so people always ask me, is that who he is? I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. That's just a little bit of who he is. But when a coach is passionate about winning, as a lot of the players are now, you're going to have a lot of success. And it's a huge offseason for them. I'm excited. You know, it's no better time to be a Lions fan. But, you know, you talk about drinking the Kool-Aid, and you kind of wish you had about 4 or 5 more weeks in the season, just how hot they got.
I don't think anybody wanted to play them and see them in the playoffs with the way they finished.
Not at that point in the season. People were getting healthy. They were getting people back, and so.
What was Dan like as a player? Because I was going to get to that, and I'm glad you brought it up, because that's what people say when they talk about Dan is he's no different than he was as a player. He's just an authentic kind of guy. He's all about ball. Mm-hmm. What struck you as from Dan Campbell, the player?
Yeah, when Mike Martz brought Dan in, he was smart. He was physical. Loved the weight room. But he was a competitor, and he was one of those dudes where you didn't want to mess with him. You know, he was whistle to whistle. He wasn't cheap, but he was who he was, and he's tough, and he's a competitor. But he got drafted by Parcells, right?
Right.
And coached for Sean Payton for a while. So this guy, not only does he have the metal inside of him to the makeup of these guys, he was also drafted and groomed by these guys.
Right.
And then a little bit of Dan, a little bit of Parcells, a little bit of Sean Payton, a lot of Detroit. You know, you can see why they're winning and have success, and the players believe in it. You can see how they're playing. They play with that type of intensity.
Did you ever think when you were playing with him that coaching was his future? Did he have that kind of? Was he that kind of guy?
I was surprised. I was surprised when he was, and but you knew whatever he was going to do, he was going to be successful because he took it serious. He took everything he did serious. And for him, you know, when he went down to Miami, had that 1 year, and then he just became a coach, you weren't surprised that, you never questioned that if this guy was a coach or not. It's just, I didn't think he was going to be a coach. But he's going to be good at it because he everything he did was intentional.
What is there about you were a player in this league for so long. You had some coaches who weren't players. You've had some who were. What is it about being a player first and then a coach? It seems like there's a buy-in from the players because they know that that coach has been in your shoes. Right. He's not going to ask you to do something he hasn't done himself or wasn't asked to do himself. Is there something to that? Because this coaching staff is filled with a ton of players, and it seems like there's really a buy-in at all levels and all positions.
Well, there's a ton of good coaches on this staff, really good coaches that had a lot of success in the NFL, and they didn't have success because they cut corners. And so when you bring people in, like I just saw Dre got hired, and Dre called me. He was so excited. He called me the week before he was going to get hired, and he knew it. And it was just so exciting because they care, a bunch of guys that care. And when those guys care, they can read players and know if they care enough to change a place or care enough to take this team to the next level.
I have to say, you look pretty good. Are you enjoying retirement?
Absolutely.
You're in the Phoenix area now, right?
Absolutely.
How's your golf game? Where's your handicap at?
I'm a 12, but I could shoot 87 or I could shoot 77, so we'll see.
And, one of the things we got to touch on, I've got a son who's just entering high school playing sports, hockey and baseball, and it's so fun to kind of live vicariously through your son. Your son, Dylan, obviously is one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. Tom, when you hear, there's some comparisons that Dylan is like a Trevor Lawrence type player, like that kind of, once in a decade type player. When you hear that about your son, it's got to make you smile. Is it surreal a little bit? I mean, when you hear that, how cool. Crazy is that?
It is cool. It's really cool when you put it that way. But you hear it all the time. You hear other coaches from other teams that are recruiting for other teams and saying that he's this type of player, he's generational. When you start saying stuff like generational, hey man, how you doing, bro? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah, but it's a cool experience to go through this process with him, and not only that, but you can kind of guide them to where they need to get to and what the work ethic looks like. To see him have some of that, and just really raising a good person.
Yeah.
Just being a good person.
That's first and foremost.
That's 100%.
The athletic stuff is second, and I'm the same way with my son. I mean, be a good person, be respectful, grades first. I mean, I'm trying to raise a young man who's going to be a good person, a good husband, good father, whatever. That's first. Athletically, whatever you do, that's good too. But I love that point that you make because it is important.
Servant leadership, and in our house it's important. You want to be a good brother. He has a younger brother that's going to follow his footsteps one day, and he has an older sister so it's just being a good person, good son, doing your chores, the minute things, like you never lose that. You never change the person you are. So it is a fun to see the growth and kind of him to take the bull by the horns and kind of create his own path.
All right, you've got to subtly throw those Nebraska things in there, don't you? Do you really? Hey.
Yeah, you finally feel good about promoting Nebraska again. About look at it. I mean, Nebraska was Alabama back in the day. In the team of the decade in the '90s. Right? So, you never close any door. We never limit yourself to what you can do. You never limit yourself of who you talk to.
Yeah.
And so that's a big deal that you just learn everything you can, and he's a relationship type kid, and that's going to help him in life.
Yeah.
Like read the room, know who you're talking to, ask questions, all those things, pluses, minus, positives, negatives. So all of those things, is just part of his makeup.
I know your daughter's playing volleyball at TCU. She said in her senior year, obviously with Dylan, that you're going to have another fun 4 years coming up. You got the youngster coming up on shoes. You're a busy guy right now, getting a little golf in, enjoying retirement, watching, living vicariously through the kids. And it sounds like you're having a great time.
Just trying to be dad.
I love it.
Trying to be the best dad I can be, and growing up, still growing up, and it's been a good run so far, and looking forward to the future.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by, Dominic Raiola. 14 years, Detroit Lions center. Some great insight there on Dan Campbell and what it's like to be an athletic dad. Good stuff.
That's right.
Appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Tim.
Welcome back to the Twentyman the Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft, back here on Radio Row, and I'm with Robert Mays, who does a great job with the Athletic Football Show. Do a great job there, too. And let's talk a little bit about the Detroit Lions.
Let's do it.
It's a big offseason for, let's start with Dan Campbell. Obviously, you come in, and you knew there was some stuff to fix after, the Matt Patricia era. 13-1. You're implementing your systems. You have to learn to win with a very young roster. And then the second season, you see such a dramatic improvement. Obviously, didn't start very well, but the way they finished 8-2 and 9-8 and just missing the playoffs. I'm just curious from your national perspective, just the opinion of Dan Campbell and the job that he's done his first 2 seasons with the Detroit Lions.
I mean, I think it's hard not to be excited about it. And on our show, we always just have warm feelings about the Lions. Like whenever we watch them, and for whatever reason, I mean, even early in the season when they weren't winning, we thought the offense was interesting. So a lot of the way that it was constructed made sense. Ben Johnson was doing a great job. And beyond that, it just felt like they played hard consistently. Even in year one when they weren't winning a lot of games, you could just tell that there was buy-in. I think that it was one of those moments where being on Hard Knocks, I think, was very good for a franchise, where you really got to get a window into why the staff was built that way, why it might be an advantage. And I think all of those kind of feel-good narratives that don't always come to fruition seem to take hold for this team this year. And so I think that, from a national perspective, is kind of how we felt about it. It's like every single bit of like warm fuzziness that you want around this team that they're trying to sell you was worth buying.
I think the buying is a important part of that, because you look at the free agents, like the John Kaminsky's, the DJ Charks, the Jamaal Williams, all these guys. We talked to them after the season, like, I want to be back.
Yeah.
I want to be part of this. Even a guy like, Josh Woods, one of the better special teams guys in the league, he's like, and I was here when they turned this thing around, when they were starting to build this thing, and I want to see where it goes, and I want to do that because of Dan Campbell. And when you have that kind of head coach where you just really have built something that players want to be a part of, that's when you maybe got the right guy in charge, right, Robert?
There's no doubt. And I think that what we've learned over the last, really, I think 3 or 4 years, but you can go back even further than that, is these guys who are kind of these CEO-type coaches, as long as they have the right staffs in place, you have a lot of success. And those guys kind of set the tone of what the building is like. To me, Mike Tomlin being the ultimate example.
Yeah.
And you see it even this year, when it seemed like the Steelers were dead in the water, they somehow come all the way back. And again, they don't have a losing season. What Mike Vrabel has done in Tennessee, where you kind of think, what does this guy do? If he's not the offensive play caller, he's not a defensive-minded head coach, but the value of those guys, I think, is very real. And I think that we've seen that. And these culture setters and culture creators and the impact that they can have, you can throw Dan Campbell right in there with those guys, I think.
Well, let's flip to the front office part of it, because, the job that Brad Holmes is doing there, and you just see some of the young pieces. You look at, you flipped onto the Pro Bowl last week, and you see an Amon-Ra St. Brown in his second season, a Penei Sewell in his second season. Some of these young guys that have now become core pieces. I think Aidan Hutchinson, James Houston, Kirby Joseph, some of these guys from this most recent draft have now become core pieces. And you just got to really love what Brad is doing and some of the young core pieces that he's building there. From a national perspective, I'm curious just the thoughts on Brad and the job he and Ray Agnew and that front office is doing.
It's hard to argue with it when you think about all of those pieces and hitting on guys a little bit later in the draft. I mean, getting an Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I think was on my second team All-Pro team when we did our
17th wide receiver taken 2 years.
And that it's unbelievable when you can hit on those guys and the excess value that creates. And I think that looking at, all right, where are we strong and how can we really make that the foundation of who we are, and going to get Penei Sewell and adding it to that group that was already full of really good players and kind of having that be a foundation of what you want to be offensively.
Yeah.
What they've done on defense, I think, kind of more methodically building it, right? They haven't spent big on that side of the ball. They've been biding their time on that side. The secondary specifically, right? Like Jeff Okudas from the previous regime.
Right.
They haven't really gone out and had that big ticket item there, but now they have money to do that. So I think the sequence of it all really makes sense. And the one move that I in the moment, I was like, what? How does this fit? Was their decision to keep and pay Jared Goff what they have over the last couple years. I remember Brad was on our show, and I asked him, I was like, well, how does a $30 million quarterback fit into a rebuilding plan? Because in my mind, it was kind of hard to square. But having reliable play at that position as you are building something, I think has been a huge part of their ability to do this.
Yeah.
So just one of those moments where I will fully admit that I was very wrong about the currency that a guy like Jared Goff can provide you. And I think that that's just another example of Brad Holmes having the foresight in a situation like that to understand what somebody like that can provide you in that moment.
Well, and he comes from L.A., so he knew Jared really, really well, knew what Jared was about, not just on the field, but how he worked, how he was in the locker room, how he could lead a team. And I think, Robert, a lot of people forget, Jared Goff's 28 years old.
Yes, yes.
We're not talking about a 32-year-old, $30 million quarterback who's, in the twilight of his career. I mean, the way quarterbacks are going now, I mean, this guy's got, 6, 7, who knows how many years left. He's 28 years old. Now the quarterbacks are making $50 million a year. $30 million doesn't seem very much. And to be a Pro Bowler, have 29 touchdowns, 6 picks, didn't throw an interception for, 329 passes or whatever the number was, just really played well, took ownership of Ben Johnson's offense and really led it. They were, top 5 in offense. To your point, I think that was a very good move by Brad, but what do you like about Jared moving forward and just how he fits in this team, this offense, and with Ben?
I think the nice thing about a guy like Jared is he's not forcing your hand at quarterback. If you have a situation where, all right, we can go get a guy who is a true difference maker just with his physical skill set that maybe Jared isn't, then you can do that if the opportunity presents itself, but you don't need to. And I think that there is value in those sorts of guys. The one I would go back to, speaking of teams that are here right now, is what Alex Smith provided the Chiefs for those few years before they moved on to Patrick Mahomes, because eventually Jared has done great for them. And I think that Jared is a very steady guy.
Yeah.
Jared is incredibly steady personality-wise. And
very even keel.
Having that is nice.
Yeah.
And so that as a kind of steadying factor early on in a regime, I think is really valuable. But I do think that with guys like that, you probably are going to hit a ceiling eventually.
Yeah.
So how do you break through that ceiling? That becomes a when it makes sense for us rather than we have to operate from a position of weakness consideration. I think that's the value of a guy like Jared Goff.
So you can fix some of the other parts of what's going on. We talked about the defense. They haven't spent big there. I don't know. They do have some cap space, but they also have 5 picks in the top 81. And so it'll be interesting. Just what do they need to do, in your opinion, when you look at them defensively? Because offensively, they've really got all the pieces. They're only missing DJ Chark and Jamaal Williams are going to be free agents. Both have said they want to come back, which we talked about. That all 5 offensive linemen are under contract. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and we haven't even scratched the surface of Jameson Williams yet. So I'm just curious, when you look at this team defensively, what do they need to do? How do they go from being, one of the bottom 4 or 5 units overall, even though they did play much better the second half of the season, to being one of those teams where maybe if they're just 15th, 16th in the league defensively, this is a really good football team and probably a playoff team that wins the NFC North.
Absolutely. I think that's about just building up the back 7. They really haven't done anything there. I mean, you have guys, Alex Anzalone, and you journeyman linebackers. Kirby Joseph is obviously a really nice piece of safety, but, corner is full of guys that I like. But I think that, like Jerry Jacobs,
I love Jerry. And Jerry's going to be down here. We're scheduled with Jerry, and he's going to bring it.
Watching him play, I mean, his rookie year, he was a rookie in 2021, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so watching him as he was undrafted rookie, and that was one of those guys in the second half of the season where I was like, this team plays hard.
Yeah.
And it's just like another one of those guys that it kind of inspires those warm feelings, but eventually you're going to want to go out and get some high-end talent in the secondary, and I think that this maybe is the offseason where you say, all right, is it through the draft? Is it in free agency where we can spend a little bit? Like James Bradbury is a free agent.
Right.
Is it worth spending $12 million a year on a James Bradbury? Do you use a first-round pick on a corner? You have resources to kind of piece together whatever that back 7 looks like. They've got a lot of intriguing guys up front.
Yeah.
That is one area where they've spent a lot of resources. They've really tried to build up that up. You stumble into a James Houston somehow. So I just think that figuring out the second and third levels of the defense with all of those resources that you have has to be the priority.
What will be the theme of the 2023 Detroit Lions, do you think?
We're here now.
Okay.
I think is kind of what I would say. Can this be a team that, wins 11 games and kind of firmly establishes themselves as maybe not a contender in the NFC, just because I do think, again, what does quarterback look like? How young is the defense? All of those things.
Philadelphia, San Francisco, they look like they're here to stay.
Yes.
You know?
I mean, those teams top to bottom, I mean, there's just elite players every single level. And we don't know what Jameson Williams is yet. I think there are still some question marks there, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they won the NFC North next year. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback in Green Bay. Minnesota, I think, is definitely set up for a step back, like maybe a significant step back.
Chicago might be a year away, maybe.
I'd say at least a year away. As a Chicago resident and someone who watches the Bears a lot, I think that's going to be a long hole, a deep hole to dig out of. So right now, I would absolutely be thinking that the Lions are probably the best team in the NFC North. You can make that argument.
I know you've excited a lot of Lions fans out there, Robert.
I'm telling you, it's one of those teams where every time I sit down to think about them, I like them more. And every time I've watched them, I've liked them more. Can't remember what game it probably was. Maybe even after the Philly game. We were just sitting there watching some of the run concepts that they were doing against the Eagles in week 1. And I was like, this is great. Like, I just love watching them. And Ben Johnson being, again, somebody that kind of you find behind door number 2 and is now one of the best play callers in the NFL. You need those every once in a while. You need to kind of flip those cards over and have them be in your favor, and that's another one. That
might be one of the biggest re-ups for this team this offseason.
It's so important, Ben. It's so important. I think we've seen that so often, and it's a little bit different when you have a young quarterback that you're helping to build, having that continuity, but I still think that continuity matters even with a young offense.
Yeah.
You know, the one I'll go back to is like Brian Daboll sticking around for 3 years in Buffalo. And them getting all of that time together, I think, has been so important. Cincinnati having their entire staff around as Joe Burrow has built that up. It's impossible to overstate when you have guys year 1, year 2, year 3 at any position being able to have those same voices and build on what you've already done, and that's exactly what they're going to have a chance to do.
And that's a terrific quarterback-coordinator relationship between Jared and Ben. I mean, when Ben was
wise, it seems like they would jive very well.
Very well. And Ben was so smart. He was building this thing in Detroit and wasn't like, this is what we do and this is how we go and let's fit it. It was like, Jared, let's build this thing together.
Yeah.
What do you do well? What do you like to do? Let's build some concepts into that. And it allowed Jared to take ownership of it, and he took off. And I think that's an important part of football maybe that some people don't realize is that relationship between quarterback and coordinator and being on the same page and feeling like you've taken ownership of that offense and it being yours.
There's no doubt. And I think that if you look at the success stories coaching-wise around the league, period, over the last couple of years, there's a through line in that a lot of these guys, you watch their offenses and it's hard to know what the genealogy of those systems is. I think the Eagles are a very good example. You watch the Eagles run game, it's not what Nick Sirianni was doing in Indianapolis. It's not what Shane Steichen was doing in San Diego or Los Angeles when he was with the Chargers. You watch the Giants right now. That doesn't look like the 2021 Buffalo Bills or Kansas City Chiefs offenses what the Giants did this year. And that's what's funny about Ben Johnson. I remember talking to him in the summer, and I was like, what do you believe in? Like, where do you, because when you're in one place for so long like he was in Miami, and when you cycle through all of these different staffs, it's hard to know what tree he necessarily comes off of.
Yeah.
And I asked him, your day one install, when you're putting in plays, what are you showing people? And he said, well, it's probably outside zone runs and things like that. But other than that, the passing game, they have Johnny Morton there, who has been in so many different places and has all this West Coast knowledge. And the branches they can kind of follow offensively and not being so rigid that you're necessarily sticking to one system or plan.
Yeah.
That can only benefit you when you have somebody at the front of it like Ben Johnson who can kind of tie it all together.
And tailor it to what you have skill-wise.
Absolutely.
And not the other way around.
Yes.
Robert, great stuff there. He does a great job for the Athletic Football Show. Make sure you check him out there. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate the insight into everything Detroit Lions, and I feel for you as a Chicago Bears fan.
You know what? We'll all get through it. It's going to be okay.
We've been there.
Yes.
Thanks, Robert. Welcome back to the 20 in the Huddle podcast here in Phoenix on Radio Row, and I am very happy to welcome in Jared Goff. Jared, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, no Phoenix Open this year? I know you did the Pro-Am last year. How was that?
Yeah, it was fun last year. Not this year, but it was fun last year. And my golf game, I don't know if it's in quite the right shape right now, but yeah, maybe again next year. We'll see.
It takes a couple months after the season, right? You got to get back in the flow of things. But how did you do on 16? You have to let everybody know the stadium hole there in 16.
Yeah.
Last year, how'd you do?
So I hit the green and it spun off, but I hit the green. but it finished off the green, I guess.
Finished with par?
Oh, yeah, we did. It's like a team thing. So actually, we made birdies. Someone made like a really long putt.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I've played there before too, and I can say I birdied that hole on my own, hit a 15-footer for
nice.
So that's something there. Yeah. Always one of those things you remember. There wasn't the stadium, it wasn't the pressure that you had with everybody there, but fun times. Well, Jared, let's start with this: the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Congratulations! Part of the reason why you're down here in Phoenix, and your JG16 Foundation providing scholarships for Detroit. Just why was that important for you, and what does being nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year mean for you?
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very rewarding, and it's such an honor to be recognized, not only to represent the Lions, but a part of the NFL, and to be able to show that, we aren't just guys who do stuff on Sundays. We have an impact in the community, and to be able to represent that's huge. But I had a lot of fun this year with the FATE program, being able to assist those kids with their college endeavors. And it's been a lot of fun and very rewarding for me, but ultimately being able to work with those kids is the most fun part.
And last week you took part in the revamped Pro Bowl. Congratulations on your third Pro Bowl nod. And just what was that event like? And did you like the new format? And how much fun was it to have three offensive teammates there too? That had to make that experience a little bit more fun for you.
Yeah, totally fun. And I think seeing St. Brown and Panay, and I think Frank, it was really like his first real one. I believe he made the COVID year, but seeing them experience that and being able to experience it with them was so much fun. And I thought the game was really well done. I thought it was really fun for us as players. It was fun for us as quarterbacks. And there's a little bit of a learning curve there with the different types of games you play, but it was really fun.
A couple of weeks ago, Detroit Lions fans, and obviously you got terrific news with Ben Johnson just announcing that, hey, I've got some unfinished business to do. I want to come back and continue to learn and build and be the offensive coordinator and work with this offense. Obviously, he was, interviewing for head coaching jobs, but just your reaction to getting back Ben and Jared, what's the next step for this offense in 2023?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge having him back, being able to have some continuity heading into the offseason. Having a guy that, knows us, we know him, and don't have to learn a new system and all the success we were able to have offensively last year, it's huge. But I think, the next step is consistency. There was times this year where our run game was really good and our pass game was just okay. And then the inverse, where our pass game was really good and our run game was just okay. So how do we bring it all together and get a little bit more consistent where, everything's firing on all cylinders every week?
So you've got your offensive coordinator back. Well, Jared, how much better do you sleep at night knowing that all five of those offensive linemen are under contract too? And just how important is that for that continuity that you talk about moving forward?
Yeah, it's extremely important. It's it definitely eases my mind knowing those guys are going to be there. And I was so lucky to play behind them this year, and hopefully can continue and keep them all for as long as we can. But it's been a lot of fun, and I think the foundation has been set, and our standards has been set, and it'll only go up.
You mentioned St. Brown at the Pro Bowl, obviously over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards. He's reaching that superstar status, don't you think, in this league, especially among slot receivers, but in my opinion, just among all the receivers in this game. I think Detroit's really found something special there. You'd know better than anybody else.
Totally. I couldn't agree more. He's entering that part of his career where he's, coming into his own. And I think, that year 1 to year 2 leap is kind of where you see that. And from him, certainly you saw it last offseason and then into the season. But can he continue to improve? Can he continue to do all the right things? I got my money on yes. So it's fun to work with him and, be on his side.
Yeah, they got some smart money, Jared. Let's stay with the wide receivers real quick. Every year you invite those guys out to California. You guys work and go through things. Is Jameson Williams one of the first calls you're going to make to set that up this year?
Yeah, he'll be there. Yeah, he'll be invited. I hope he can make it. I'm still working on the dates for all that stuff. If it's for the spring, when I want to do that. But yeah, certainly he'll be there. And I'm excited to get a lot of work with him this offseason and get on the same page and really feel good about things heading into training camp.
I had Ray Agnew on the podcast last week. He sat down with me at the Senior Bowl, and we just started talking about some things, and he talked about JMO a little bit, and that he's got a ton of confidence that he can be, number 1 caliber type of guy. There's just that kind of talent level there. A guy loves ball. Do you see the same thing? And I know it was hard last year because it's 6 games. I mean, that's hard when you jump in and you don't have a training camp and off season, all that time you miss. But with him having that, and you guys building some continuity there, just from a skill set alone and the little bit that you saw, Jared, does he have that kind of caliber in him?
No doubt, he does. He has the talent. He has everything you want in a receiver. I think it's just going to come to putting it all together with our offense and everything. I don't see that not happening. I think he's got what you want mentality wise, and he can take it to the house from anywhere. That's kind of like a very special trait that we say it, but there is only can count on one hand how many guys in the league can do that. So when you have that in a receiver, and he has the will and he has the fight and the toughness and likes blocking and even doing most receivers don't like, it all points in the right direction for him.
Well, I know everybody's excited about the way you guys finished, what you guys have coming back on offense with Ben and you and the offensive line and St. Brown, and we get to see J-Mo at full speed. There's a lot of excitement around this team, Jared. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a terrific time Sunday being honored for Walter Payton Man of the Year. You certainly earned that, and thanks again for joining me. Have a great offseason. Well, how about we talk OTAs?
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
All right, Jared, have a good one.
All right, see you.
Welcome back to the Twentyman, the Huddle podcast, and I am joined by Michael Brockers.
Come on, familiar face.
Nice get up with the Brock brand. I like that.
With the Brock brand, and I was a lion, and I was ex-tiger, and come on.
You got all the cats going
all
on
the
here.
big cats going on.
Well, how's Super Bowl treating you? We are here in Phoenix, Radio Row. How's the media gauntlet been so far?
Man, it's been awesome, man. I love it, man. I've been through this what they call it, car wash, or whatever, the car wash, a couple of times around. So I just love the experience, get to put out what I want to, my brand, my platform. So I like it.
And we had you on the podcast earlier in the year. It was a really popular one, and it seems like you might have a future in this media thing. I mean, is that kind of where you're angling? Have you figured that part of it out yet? Or because I know when you were starting to think about it,
For sure, I really haven't. I'm just not closing any doors. I'm not closing any doors. I'm leaving all doors open for media, broadcasting, podcasts. Like I'm just trying to do it all. I don't want to be locked into any one thing. I want to be able to do whatever I want, to be honest with you.
Brock, let's start with this. It was obviously a great season for the team individually, up and down for yourself, but every player, every coach I talked to couldn't say enough good things about the way you handled your situation all year. And that captaincy meant something to you, didn't it? And because the way you approached this season, it certainly felt that way.
It does. I mean, for me, being a leader is what got me here. It wasn't, my ability. I think, Dan seen that, he was coming into a new regime, new outlook, and, he wanted a veteran that can keep the locker room together and, show the guys how, what a true professional is all about. And that's what I was there to prove. It was a little struggle at first, but I just had to realize what my purpose on the team was and what my value was. And I think it was really just showing the guys what a professional was all about, coming into work, even though you're not playing or whatever, being bought into the system, and just showing that, it doesn't matter what goes on. You got to be a professional about, your business.
And that obviously showed the second half of the season. How fun was that 8-2 stretch to end the season?
We enjoyed it, but it was just like because we were so locked in week to week on a week-to-week basis, it's like every game was important. Once we turned it around, every game was important. So it was like a week-to-week basis. We enjoyed winning, but now I think, these guys, they know how to win. So, I remember our first victory versus the Vikings, and we were all hyping. We were dancing in the locker room, and I remember we got a couple of victories this year, and everybody's just like, "Hey, good win." Like
now it's expected.
Now it's expected.
Yeah.
Now it's expected.
All right, Aidan Hutchinson is down here up for Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
Obviously, a guy that you worked with closely.
Yes.
Just curious, what did you see from him when he stepped in day one to OTAs to the guy he was at the end of the year? There really wasn't a rookie wall for him, Michael. It didn't seem. And what's the future hold for him? So what'd you see from him, and what do you like about his future?
Man, I just like his professionalism as a rookie was crazy. It was, it almost like he was in the league 5 years, just how he took the game, to a technical level. He's watching film. Like, it was plenty of times, like, I will go into the locker, and I pride myself on going to the meeting room early and know he will be in there first watching film on his pad, writing notes and stuff like that. And, I just tell him, hey, man, what's up, greatness? I just call him greatness, just messing with him because, I've seen that before. I played with Aaron Donald, and he reminded me of him, I used to go into the meeting room early when I played for the Rams, and I would see AD in there watching film and studying his opponents. And, Hutch was doing the same thing. So to see that and see that comparison, I was like, man, this guy he has a, great head on his shoulders, and, he has a long career ahead of him.
He's all about ball, huh?
All about ball, and being the best player he can be for the team.
When did you start to see something unique in James Houston? And obviously kind of a hybrid guy, was a stacked linebacker in Florida, then a pass rush edge guy on the line at Jackson State. Then he was kind of a stacked guy for you guys, and then on the line. And when did you start to see that maybe there's some unique stuff with him when he's an on-the-ball player?
Well, it was all about just, him locking in. Once he got some coaches under him that, just saying like, hey, man, you're a hell of a rusher. Like, you can go out there and, rush at practice and beat, the first team offensive tackles like all the time, So like, let's put some effort into it and show these coaches. And as he built and we start to lose guys here and there on the D line, he started to show, what he could do. And in practice and in the games it showed, if he can just rush that passer and get after you, he can make some plays.
Is he a great example? Because what you talked about with Aidan, of a guy who gets locked in, be about ball, take coaching, understand scheme. It's not just about having the skills, but when he incorporated all that to it, then you saw the whole game maybe start to come together.
For sure, yeah. And, I mean, AG's defense is not a easy defense to learn. And, for a young guy to be as locked in as he was, because, he just jumped in and it was hot.
Yeah.
We were already rolling when he jumped in there. So he had to he was already up on, on the stuff at practice, being on the scout team or practice squad. But, when he really started to roll, it's a different experience, you got to learn your drops and coverages and stuff like that. So I just, take my hat off to him to be able to, take on that toll and be able to get it done.
I want to ask you about a rookie Lions just didn't see a ton of because he dealt with injuries early on, but Josh Paschal, what do you see from him and the talent level there with him? It seems like he's got some versatility to his game.
I mean, he does. He's very, very fast, very quick off the line, very explosive. I mean, he gets some technique, under him, some more technique with some coaching, just working on his hands. He was kind of raw coming out of Kentucky and, using his hands and stuff like that. But that's just with growth. With growth, you're a young guy, learning to use your hands in this game is a savvy move. It's veteran things, So I think just with growth, he'll learn those things. He'll be a phenomenal player.
People sometimes use the term glue pieces. There's glue guys on the roster. To me, a couple of those guys seems like Isaiah Buggs and John Kaminsky. Is that an accurate assessment?
No, that's being honest, man. Being honest, because, those guys were all about the team. They bought in so quickly. I mean, it was crazy just to see how quick, they adapted to the room. We tried to keep our room fun and upbeat, so they adapted really quickly. And to be honest, man, we were a close unit.
Yeah,
close unit. We hung out a lot. We went out on little, dinner nights and stuff like that for D-line. And man, we just a close unit. We all wanted to see each other succeed. And watching John go out there, and once he got his first start, and I told him, man, you deserve this, man. Don't think you're not supposed to be here. You deserve this shot and go out there and ball. Don't think about nothing else. And man, he had a hell of a season.
That's important, isn't it, too, Brock, is just the closeness. The offensive line has talked about that, how they're all brothers in that room and go out. And it sounds like it's the same thing with the defensive line. That's an important part of team and winning and building culture, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, you want to know that the guy next to you is going to have your back. If you know the guy next to you is going to have your back in every situation, up or down, you can ride with that guy, So I think that's the biggest thing is understanding who you're playing with, who you're playing for, and when we grow together and you go through training camps and you build that bond, man, playing in on that battlefield and on that field is it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy.
What does your future hold, Michael?
Man, I don't know, man. I'm just enjoying not playing football right now, enjoy sleeping in, besides helping the kids out, in the morning. But
Dad duty's important.
Dad duties. Got to do my dad duties. But I get a nap in between. But for the most part, I'm enjoying just living life right now. Just I own a restaurant, I own a cigar lounge in Houston.
Yeah.
So being an entrepreneur right now and just focusing on that right now.
Well, I will tell you what, we will not have a better guest better dressed guest.
Oh, come on.
On the 20-Minute in the Huddle podcast after Super Bowl this week. You've won it.
Yeah.
The award is over.
Oh,
it's yours.
Thank you.
Michael Brockers, thanks for taking the time. Great job this year. Really helping along the young guys. It was fun to watch this team evolve. You were a big part of that. Appreciate you taking the time.
Man, I appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.